Hello. Yeah, first, the title of my talk. It's about the Flux pattern in combination with relay. And only in the end of the small talk, it's on the charting use case, why it is important for charting. Yeah, to my person, my name is Steiner. I work as a front-end engineer at Calbeck. But it's only part of my job. I also work at the University of Vienna as a theoretical astrophysicist. I'm doing my PhD thesis there. Yeah, and I came to programming doing it in my free time and was interested in solving problems basically, which is the same thing I do at the university. So I don't want to say ended up, but I'm working now at Calbeck, and yeah, I like the diversity of doing different things in research and programming stuff. So yeah, that's for me. Yeah, to Calbeck Ventures, very briefly, it's yeah, we do software development mainly with a focus on tailor-made application solutions for businesses with the UX, with great UX, tailor-made by us for them. And on the back end, we do, our stack is the .NET Core framework. And on the front end, we use TypeScript, React, Relay, GraphQL. Yeah, that's very new setup. And yeah, we really enjoy to work with that so far, at least. Yeah, and also industrial IoT is a very big thing coming up. Every business wants to have it. Online platforms, fintech, yeah, we can talk afterwards about that. So directly to the talk. Very briefly, what is Relay and why should we use it? Relay modern especially because it's the new version of Relay, is a GraphQL client for JavaScript, but specifically made for React components. So it's very tightly coupled to React. And it's very well suited for data-driven applications, for big data analysis, charting, tables for many entries, whatever. And a very interesting thing about that is declarative, and it's co-located. The data requirements for a component are co-located with the component itself. Meaning, what you can see here is the component here, which contains arbitrary content, and then you see the data requirements here afterwards, just in the same file, for example. Which just wraps the data requirements around the component, and in there just stands the GraphQL query or fragment in this case, which explains and declaratively states which data we need in this component. And another thing which is an advantage over Apollo, in my opinion, is that it's very optimized for mobile-first applications, which becomes more important in the future. Yeah, that's just for Relay. I don't want to talk about Relay. I want to talk about a very special feature of Relay. So since Relay 1.5, which is really new, it's 4 weeks old. There is a new interesting feature was coming up in the new release, and it's direct store manipulation of Relay by handler functions. Most of you have heard Redux or Apollo or both, and there you know that the Flux pattern is all about having data stores distributed. Flux is many data stores. Redux reduced it to one data store, which is a good idea and works well. And also Relay does that, but Relay didn't give you the possibility to change that store directly, but only Relay itself could change it. This changed with Relay 1.5, and now we can do that. So we have the same power as Redux or Apollo or Apollo has or have, and we can directly manipulate it, which can be used to define better re-rendering or updating mechanisms for React component trees. And another feature from not really a relay, not really, yeah, it's a relay feature, but it's a GraphQL feature. The first hand is type safety from the data requirements. So GraphQL, most of you know, is a type safe way of getting data from the data GraphQL server, which is connected to various data sources. And with Relay 1.5, you can define a client schema. So saying it's a schema which only the client knows and the server doesn't know that. And then you have handler mechanisms or client handlers which can populate these fields on the client. And this can be used to, or this can be exploited in a very powerful manner. So what you can see here, sorry, is this is the way you do that. It's very, very easily done. You set up a relay environment or relay environment, and there normally you don't have to do this here, this red boxed thing here. But if you provide it, you can plug in additional to the connection and the viewer handler, which are relay related things, additional ones. So I did here in this very easy example, which I'll show you afterwards. I had just implemented a to-do handler, which is the very thing which manipulates the store. And yeah, here you can see in the fragment, this is a field, it's called to-dos. And if we annotate it with this __ client field and provide a handle, which is basically this here, then it takes the to-do handler here, in this case, for handling the field updating or the store updating mechanism for this field. So how does that look like? I'll show you. Yeah, I just came up with this very, very small example. It's basically the relay example for the to-do app built with relay, and I just manipulated a little bit. I also got help from a colleague which did this pink-blue thing here. And what you can see here is in this box, the normal, the server provided to-do items are in there. It's the normal way of using relay. And here I just did another box which contains no to-do item from the server, but it's processed by my own handler. And this gives you the power of processing first the data items of the server, discard them if you don't need them, and just use the processed ones. And you can do everything you would do with a normal field in a normal component with these ones. And I did here debug output, which just gives you a little idea of what's going on here. So if I, for example, add a new to-do, the first what I did here is when I press enter now, it gets populated it's a new to-do, but it's also getting updated automatically and pushed to the client field to-dos. So, and you can see that the text of the to-do was manipulated also by the handler. It's a very, very powerful feature. I can show you afterwards why. So you can see here, without doing any state change in the React component, no state changes at all, I modified and updated automatically only by using relay those to-do items. And you can see here, the to-do list got an update event, and the to-do list client got an update event, which is of course clear because I changed the to-do list and the to-do list for the client, or with the client items. But now I can also do things here. For example, I just I checked and unchecked this to-do item from the client, and here I did it in a way that the server will not get any idea that I did that. It's only for the client fields. And you can see here the to-do list. The to-do list of the original items doesn't get touched at all. Because here, you see here that the to-do list client is updated, but only the to-do list client is updated. So getting this idea of how to do it, just very close in this, how this works, just in the code. Here you just get this client field here, and this gets processed by this to-do handler, which is shown in a second. And here are those fragments which get those data passed down to the components where they are needed in a declarative way. And then I have here this to-do list somewhere, yeah, here. And also the to-do list client. And both of them have fragments inside. For example, if a to-do list client here has this client to-dos. Client to-dos is not defined on the server. Doesn't exist there. It's only a field existing on the client. And it's using those things to populate this item list. And you can do it in the same way as you would do it with the normal item list. So very easily done here. So back to the slides. Why do we need that stuff? Or for what can we exploit that? And here comes the charting use case in mind. We at Calpic, we currently build a charting component, a very sophisticated one, an advanced one. And we had this problem that if you have really big data sets, where one of those, the x-axis especially, is a date and or time series, we have to parse the data from the server, make a moment.js object or a date object or whatever out of it, and then we have to build up the chart with it. And every time we manipulate something, for example, do a slider, change a slider or something, and change this, the range of the chart, everything gets re-rendered. That's because we have to hold the data on a wrapper component to spread it over all components which need something from it, from the data. And every time there's an event fired, the wrapper, which contains the parsed data, for example for the date, will introduce a state change, and this state change will bubble down the whole component tree and trigger a re-render for every component. This is the normal way. You can circumvent that a little bit by exploiting this should component update feature of React, but it's a very hacky way and it doesn't scale at all. So why not coming up with another idea? And the first idea which comes in mind is Redux. Why not using Redux and this connect syntax and map state to prop thing, or Apollo? Oh, oops, sorry. And there you can do it if you have a tooltip and this, or you have a mouse event which, for example, changes this tooltip thing here in this example. The Redux store is updated. The store update function connects this state, this local state change in the store, to props of the very specific component, and only triggers a re-render in this tooltip component, which is, yeah, obviously a performance boost for the whole component thing. And you have, if you do that consistently, you can do that with Apollo, you can do that with Redux, but now you can also do it with Relay. And I think there's an advantage in doing it with Relay now, because it's much easier to work with, because it's basically no boilerplate anymore. You don't have to do anything, just declaring this client field thing and update the handler or write the handler yourself, and everything else is taken care of by Relay itself. And it really works, as you could see in this very easy example before. Yeah, and yeah, this is the demo I showed you before. And yeah, I have to show you another thing very shortly. Where we want to end up is here. This is a current chart of one of our products. And there you have exactly this thing. You have a slider, which you can move. And now there's several components which have to update. It's the headline here. And if you do this, it is this component which reflects the last points here. It's the range here. It's the graph itself. It has to recalibrate. It's because it always starts at 0%. So the first value is always at 0%. So the whole graph is recalibrated every time. And if you have such things, a complete re-render of everything which doesn't change is it's not very performant. And there this feature, this brand new feature, really comes in handy. And yeah, we had this prototyping phase now and it works, so we implement it. And yeah, it's very interesting to work with that stuff. It's undocumented so far, which is a good sign that it's a cool thing, at least for Facebook. Yeah, that's for that. And yeah, I hand over to Daniel. He also wants to say some things. Okay.